I dropped $10,000 on a pool I didn't even want because my HOA told me I had to, and yeah, I know how dumb that sounds. But wait, 3 months later, digging through some junk mail, I found a single paper that blew the whole scam wide open. That's when I realized I wasn't just their neighbor, I was their mark. Okay, let me back up before you think I'm the biggest sucker in the state of Georgia. My name's Mitch. I'm 44, divorced, teach high school biology, yeah, one of those frog dissecting, don't microwave the beaker types. I moved into this HOA-run neighborhood right after the divorce finalized. Thought I'd start fresh, you know. Clean air, cul-de-sac, a nice little fixer-upper with a backyard I could someday turn into a beer garden. Didn't realize I was walking straight into the clutches of the tightest HOA board this side of the Mason-Dixon. Now here's the thing, I'm not anti-HOA by default. I get it. Keep the lawns neat, no purple flamingos on the roof, whatever. But this HOA run by a woman named Connie Delancey, think church lady, meets IRS auditor with a hint of mafia enforcer. She ran the board like a dictator in yoga pants. Had her little cronies too, Craig, the ex-military guy who still saluted mailboxes, and Belinda, who I swear hadn't smiled since Y2K. About 6 weeks after I moved in, Connie showed up at my door. She smiled like she was selling Girl Scout cookies, but she was holding a clipboard red flag number 1. She said, "Mr. Holloway, we're reviewing property compliance and noticed you have a non-conforming yard. The previous owner was in violation for 3 years. There's a pending remediation." I blinked. Remediation of what? That's when she hit me with it. The yard was originally zoned for a community pool extension. You're required to complete it per the covenant or face legal penalties. I laughed. Out loud. I said, "Lady, I teach biology, not real estate law." But Connie didn't laugh. She handed me a folder marked urgent full of forms, citations, and photos of what looked like a construction site from 2017. I flipped through it while she stood there like a taxidermied hawk. Then she said, "We've arranged for our preferred contractor, Dunstan Aquatics, to begin next week. $10,000 is the HOA share rate. You'll thank us when your property value spikes." Now I should have called a lawyer. I should have told her to take her chlorinated dream and shove it. But I was still new, still trying to be agreeable. So, against every fiber of Midwestern common sense, I agreed. That pool went in fast. Too fast. Within a week, I had a hole, tile lining, even a pump that buzzed louder than a fridge full of bees. Looked okay, until I realized they hadn't even installed a heater. Or stairs. Just a floating ladder like it was a motel pool in 1978. I brought it up, and Connie told me, "You want premium features, you pay premium prices." Couple months went by. I started using the pool once in a while, mostly to cool off or float around and rethink my life choices. Then, one rainy Sunday, I was digging through a pile of old mail I'd never sorted, mostly junk, HOA newsletters, coupons for pest control, when I found an envelope postmarked 8 months before I moved in. It was addressed to future resident. Inside, I found a copy of a covenant amendment. Looked boring as hell until I hit one line, highlighted in yellow. All prior zoning plans for community recreational expansions are null and void as of March 14th. That was the date they'd supposedly cited as the reason I owed a pool. My hands started shaking. I read it again and again. My stomach dropped like a bad roller coaster. They'd voided the pool expansion. This wasn't a law. This wasn't even valid. They just made it up. I was the first poor fool to move in after the amendment. They figured I wouldn't know. And they were right until now. So I started digging deeper. I asked around casually at first to the neighbors. Turns out, no one else had been forced to build a pool. I talked to Ms. Howard down the street, 81 years old and sharp as a tack. She said, "Honey, that pool business died with the last board president. I think Connie always wanted a resort-style vibe." That's when I realized this wasn't about rules. This was about Connie playing SimCity with real money. I needed backup, and that's where Greg came in. Greg lived 3 doors down. Ex-paralegal, now worked remote IT. Liked wearing flip-flops and quoting Better Call Saul. I showed him the paper. He read it twice, whistled, then said, "Oh, they played you hard, man. This is classic fraudulent misrepresentation. Maybe even civil racketeering if there's a pattern." Greg helped me pull the HOA public filings, board meeting minutes, even the contractor payment logs. Guess what we found? Connie's cousin owns Dunstan Aquatics, an HOA fund. We're going directly to them for infrastructure improvements. The only infrastructure? My backyard. We decided not to go nuclear right away. Greg had a better idea. He said, we're going to bait him. So I faked interest in installing an outdoor kitchen to match the resort aesthetic. Called Connie. She perked up like a cat hearing a tuna can pop. Oh, Mitch, yes. That would be so compliant with the vision we're developing. Meanwhile, Greg and I set up a little camera by the side gate and a second one behind a rose bush. We caught her and Craig coming by at night, measuring property lines and spray painting stake markers. Without a permit. On camera. Now you'd think when we confronted them with the footage, they'd fold, right? Nope. Connie doubled down, sent me a letter saying I was in gross non-compliance and owed an additional $2,300 in amenity integration fees. Integration of what? Her delusions? So we escalated. Greg helped me draft a formal complaint to the state HOA Oversight Board. Attached every doc, every image, even audio from a board meeting where Belinda said, we need Mitch to commit so the books look clean. Oh yeah, we had everything. But here's the cherry. Greg also posted our story anonymously in a homeowner's legal forum online. Within 24 hours, 5 people from other neighborhoods messaged us saying Connie used to run their HOAs. Similar schemes. Forced upgrades, fake zoning issues, cousin-owned contractors. She moved towns every 5 years. Aserialache o akonartist. We printed it all, made a lovely binder, labeled it HOA Fraud, Pool Edition. And then, just to make it fun, we showed up at the annual HOA barbecue. Middle of the party, kids in bounce houses, hot dogs on the grill, neighbors buzzed on boxed wine. Greg pulled out a projector. Said, hope y'all don't mind. Mitch and I put together a little slideshow. What followed was 10 minutes of absolute neighborhood silence. Connie's voice on tape. The payment trails. Photos. Greg even added dramatic music, law and order style. By the time it ended, Connie was gone. Just vanished. Craig tried to act confused. Belinda looked like someone had unplugged her soul. 3 weeks later, the board dissolved. Connie resigned for personal reasons, and Dunstan Aquatics pulled out of the region. I filed a small claims case and won. Got back my 10 grand, plus court fees, plus a formal apology from the new interim HOA president, Ms. Howard. The pool's still there, by the way. But now it's at a heater, stairs, a floating drink tray, and my own "No Karens Allowed" sign. Just for flair. So yeah, I got scammed. But I didn't stay scammed. And if you've got an HOA trying to play, you start digging through your junk mail. You might find gold in the trash. Ever had an HOA try to pull a fast one on you? Drop your wildest story below. I'm collecting them like baseball cards.